Today we are going to be talking about something very important, and that is building support for the affordable housing agenda through collaboration. So I have a short presentation. Please, if you can just project my slides, please. So while we're waiting for that, very early this morning, Mr. Jide and Olisa were having a conversation, and we're talking about how small our industry is and how small we are as individual players. Individually, we contribute very little to solving the big problem of affordable housing, but collectively, we can do a lot more, and I think that's the main essence of this subject. When we talk about affordable housing is almost like a hydra-headed problem. This is a problem that is multifaceted and multi-dimensional. One of the key areas of affordability is in its definition. What is affordable housing? What's affordable to Mr. X might not be affordable to Mr. Y. And so it's a function of incomes, primarily. So what is affordable is a function of how much you earn. And given our low levels of income in Nigeria, it becomes a very big challenge to provide affordable housing to the teeming population. Are we still having issues with the presentation? All right, I'll just proceed. So, who needs affordable housing? Affordable housing is everybody's problem. When we talk about affordable housing, we normally want to think about it as a problem for low-income earners. But affordable housing is really and truly everybody's problem because we all live in a community, and it's a social problem. And if we don't solve the problem of affordable housing, we cannot solve the problem of national development. And so I'll just jump straight to why there's a need for collaboration in the provision of affordable housing. Basically, affordable housing is made more challenging because of certain factors. The access to land is a problem, and the cost of accessing land is a huge problem. There's a huge cost of producing houses, the cost of building materials and construction. There's inadequate access to finance and infrastructure. There are high taxes related to construction. There are fees to pay. There's the problem of the implementation of policies, and there's bureaucracy. We have a problem of skilled manpower and lack of cooperation amongst the different players in the real estate sector. So in order to solve these problems, we need to come together as a group and come together as different players in order to crack this nut. And so I'm going to be discussing the case for collaboration in three different areas. One area is collaboration between the public and the private sector, what some people refer to as the public-private partnership collaboration, or what some people know as PPP. The second area I'm going to be talking about is the collaboration among, yes, so if you can go, I've gone one slide before this is where, okay, yeah. So here I'm talking about making a case for collaboration. And the first one that I discussed is the issue of the public-private partnership. And I'm going to be discussing that in a little bit more detail shortly. Secondly is the collaboration among the different players in the housing sector. And then thirdly, the collaboration with players in other sectors. So let's go to the next slide. The collaboration between the public and the private sector is very, very important, given that in Nigeria, the government still controls access to land. And the government, whether we like it or not, is still a major player in the provision of housing. And we can collaborate in the sense that we can leverage on the strengths of the government and the strengths of the private sector to deliver affordable housing and to reduce the cost of delivering houses. So on the side of the government, we can see that partnering with government will ensure that we have access to cheap land with good title. We can also bank on the government to waive some fees and charges and taxes, thereby reducing the overall delivery cost of homes. We can also look at fast-track approvals. We all, as developers, know sometimes how long it takes to get building approval, thereby adding to the cost and the complexity of affordable housing. And there are also the provision of strategic partnerships with government agencies and different ministries and offices that are involved in housing delivery. For the private sector can do some things more efficiently in terms of development expertise and bringing development capital and the execution discipline required to deliver affordable housing. That's an area where the private sector can really add value. So when these two come together, I think we have a winning formula. And there are a few projects across the country that are blazing the trail in the area of PPP, both in housing delivery and infrastructure delivery. Next slide, please. In terms of players in the housing sector, that's exactly what we started talking about in the morning. Why are we all so happy to play small when we can play big? Someone said, if you're going to dream at all, you might as well dream big. Why can't we all collaborate and build new cities and build big projects? Individually, we contribute very little to the delivery of housing. Collectively, we can solve big problems. And that's why today I want to make a case for the different players in the housing sector to come together and collaborate and bring their strengths. Some players are very good at construction, some others are very good at financing, some are very good at project management, some are very good at selling, marketing. If we can pull our strengths together, we can create products that are low cost and create products that the market really wants. Somebody this morning was talking about why build something that the people do not want? It's a skill to understand what the market needs and to provide what the market needs. So there's a big case for different players in the housing sector to collaborate. And today we are going to be talking more about that during this session and to see why it's a big deal for us. Next slide, please. The third area is collaboration amongst the players in the housing sector and other sectors. So this would involve the relationship between the housing sector players and financial institutions, for example, mortgage institutions, because we know that it's an affordability problem. If we have low-cost financing for developers and we have low-cost financing for retail financing of homes, then we can begin to address the issue of affordability. Because like I said earlier, it's a function of how much you earn. And if you can stretch out the payment plans and you have more structured payment systems, then housing naturally becomes more affordable. Also, we've discussed this morning around technology. It's a big area that there's the need for collaboration. I don't think we are there yet because engineers always focus on engineering. But as developers, we also have to look at what is acceptable in the market And so that collaboration would ensure that the technology for delivering affordable housing evolves over time, and we can deliver something that the market wants and at the cost that the market wants it. We need to look at different procurement systems. How do we source materials? Where do we source materials from? Almost everything we use for building today is imported into the country. Maybe we can collaborate with our manufacturers to look at ways in which some of the components of affordable housing delivery can be manufactured locally, and what kind of incentives manufacturers need to get, be it pioneer status, as we discussed earlier today, or some kind of tax holiday to bring down the cost of production. We discussed technology extensively, and I think we'll continue to talk about it because technology is the future. We need to collaborate with the academia. We also need to collaborate with the technology players to ensure that things like modular housing systems, 3D printing, and using crowdfunding and things like that can definitely help us in bringing this dream alive. Next slide, please. So to conclude, affordable housing is a must for all of us. It's a social need, and it's an important tool for economic development. Earlier, in one of my slides, I talked about the numbers. So if you can just go forward a few slides that shows some of the numbers. Okay, here. We can debate the numbers, but what we can agree is that these are huge numbers. These are huge numbers in terms of our population. They are huge numbers in terms of the housing deficit. Huge numbers in terms of the opportunity that we have. An estimate says that it will take about $363 billion to fulfill the housing need. It doesn't matter how you dimension it. Somebody's got to build these homes over time. This is a huge opportunity for all of us. It's very close to the GDP of the country, what is needed to deliver housing, because we have a huge deficit. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for all of us. I don't just see it as a problem, I see it as an opportunity that we all need to surmount. So let's go back to my conclusion slide. So finally, I believe very strongly that providing affordable housing is achievable, and we can achieve this through the creation of appropriate synergies and collaboration amongst the various stakeholders in the industry. Thank you very much.
Keep a date with Housing Development Program every week on TVC. Housing Development is the first and pioneer housing program in Nigeria and by extension, Africa. It remains the authentic voice of the Nigerian housing and construction industry. Housing Development is the only credible and specialized platform for seasoned professionals in the build industry, where quality and credible players in the real estate sector meet to interact, showcase, and analyze government policies. It is no doubt that hundreds of thousands of prospective Nigerians who desire to own their personal properties have done so through the assistance of Housing Development Program in the last 10 years. If you are a stakeholder in the build industry, here is where you must be. We are authentic, credible, and supported by all the leading professionals in the build industry. Housing Development on TVC.